Hello, and thanks for coming to my show. If you don't already know, this show is done in themed seasons, and we're on Season 18, Killer Kids. If you like this channel, not necessarily the crimes, you can hit like on the video and subscribe to the channel for weekly stories. You can also check out my other channel, Somewhere Sinister, which isn't entirely true crime, more true crime adjacent. A link is in the description. Thanks. In 1990, 3-year-old Jamie Campbell wanted to go play in the garden. His grandmother told him he could, and he happily strolled outside on a nice sunny day. It wasn't long before the boy went missing, and when he was finally found, the entire community would be shocked at what had happened. This is Monsters. Richard Keith's early life was marked by tragedy and instability. Born in 1979, he grew up in Drumchapel, a working-class neighborhood of Glasgow, Scotland. Little is known about his parents or home environment, but his actions at a young age suggest a troubled upbringing. By the time he was 11 years old, Richard had already developed violent tendencies that would lead to a shocking crime. While detailed psychological assessments of Richard are not publicly available, his behavior points to serious underlying issues. At such a young age, Richard displayed aggression and a lack of empathy that are highly unusual in children. Experts suggest that early childhood trauma, abuse, or neglect may have played a role in shaping his violent tendencies. The brutality of his actions against a much younger child indicates a disturbing lack of moral development and impulse control. Jamie Campbell was born in 1987, and tragedy struck when he was only 11 weeks old. There was a fire in his home which killed his mother, but luckily he was able to be rescued. From there, Jamie was cared for by his aunt and uncle, Kim and Robert Campbell. They took care of him like he was their own, and after a few years, he was an energetic and inquisitive toddler. In August of 1990, Jamie was spending time at his grandmother's house, and it was a nice day, so he asked if he could go play in the garden. It seemed like a safe enough place as it was fenced, and Jamie knew not to go out of the gate, or so his grandmother thought. When the woman went to call Jamie inside, she didn't see him anywhere in the garden. She looked around in neighbors' yards, but he was gone. A couple of kids nearby said they had seen Jamie walking away with an older boy who looked about 12. They said they were headed towards Bluebell Woods. That area had gained a reputation after a young woman had been sexually assaulted and strangled there a few years earlier. Jamie's grandmother called the police and a search party was put together. While Richard's reasons for targeting Jamie were never fully explained, he would later say that he lured Jamie into the woods with a promise of adventure. Once they entered the wooded area, Jamie started to cry and said he wanted to go home. Richard picked up a rock and began hitting the little boy repeatedly in an attempt to make him shut up. Then he dragged the body to a stream and tossed him in. After that, he went home. Police officers and volunteers hadn't been searching long when a woman spotted the boy's body floating face down in the water. An autopsy would later reveal that Jamie had been beaten with a rock, sustaining 14 wounds to his head and neck, but his cause of death was from drowning. Richard could have left the boy unconscious in the woods and he might have survived. Instead, he put him face down in the water to ensure his untimely death. The case raised difficult questions about how society should handle such young offenders. The brutality of the crime committed by someone so young shocked the public and challenged assumptions about the nature of childhood innocence. As news of Jamie's death spread, the police launched an intensive investigation. Detectives combed the area for clues, interviewing witnesses and gathering any available evidence. The witness accounts of Jamie being seen with an older boy near Garscat and Burns became a key focus of the investigation. Eventually, they learned that Jamie had been joking with a workman shortly before he went missing, adding another layer to the timeline of that tragic day. As the investigation progressed, the case was grouped with 3 other unsolved double murders that occurred between 1986 and 1989. That connection raised questions about whether the cases were linked, adding complexity to an already challenging investigation. The breakthrough in the case came when the police identified Richard Keith as a suspect. Richard's description matched that of the older boy witnesses had seen with Jamie that day. When Richard was brought in for questioning, it wasn't long before he confessed to the murder. During the investigation, it was discovered that Richard had previously attacked another 3-year-old in Drumchapel with a penknife and he had beaten him. That information painted a disturbing picture of a young boy with a history of violence against other children. Richard's legal journey began in 1990 when he was charged with murder for battering 3-year-old Jamie Campbell with sticks and stones. The trial took place at the High Court in Glasgow in December of 1990, where a jury initially acquitted Richard of the murder. However, the case took an unexpected turn the following month. In January of 1991, after a 4-day trial in Edinburgh, Richard was found guilty of the reduced charge of culpable homicide. Following the conviction, Judge Lord Sutherland ordered that Richard be detained without limit of time. The judge described the crime as, quote, sheer wickedness, reflecting the shock and horror felt by the public. The case sparked a heated debate about the age of criminal responsibility in Scotland. At just 11 years old, Richard became the youngest person to be convicted of killing in the country. That shocking incident brought attention to the fact that Scotland's age of criminal responsibility was remarkably low compared to other European countries. In England and Wales, the age of criminal responsibility remains at 10 years old, making it one of the lowest in Europe. That has led to calls for reform from various organizations, including youth services representatives, justice system experts, and politicians. They argue that criminalizing such young children is unnecessary and potentially harmful. The UN Committee on the Rights of the Child has repeatedly expressed the view that the minimum age of criminal responsibility should be 12 years. That recommendation is based on the Beijing rules, which set minimum standards for the administration of juvenile justice. The committee emphasizes the need for the age to reflect the emotional, mental, and intellectual maturity of children. After his conviction, Richard spent 8 years at Care Loss Secure Unit in Stevenston, Ayrshire. During that time, he underwent rehabilitation programs aimed at addressing his violent behavior and preparing him for eventual reintegration into society. The secure unit provided a structured environment where Richard could receive psychological treatment and education. As Richard approached his 20th birthday, a parole panel at Care Loss Secure Unit convened to assess his progress and determine whether he still posed a danger to the public. After careful deliberation, the panel concluded that Richard was no longer a threat and ordered his release. The release process came with strict conditions. Richard was placed under the supervision of North Ayrshire Council, which was tasked with monitoring his behavior and progress. The council was required to submit monthly reports to the Scottish Secretary of State, ensuring close oversight of Richard's integration into society. A spokesperson for the Scottish office emphasized that the decision to free Richard was made solely by the parole board, stating, quote, "It is not our policy to comment on individual cases. I can, however, confirm that the parole board has directed the Secretary of State to release Richard Keith on life license." The spokesperson further clarified that under the law, the Secretary of State had no discretion in such cases and was obligated to comply with the parole board's directive. Richard's release sparked intense controversy and outrage, particularly from Jamie Campbell's family. The decision to free the man who had taken their loved one's life at such a young age was met with disbelief and anger. Jamie's aunt, Kim Gallagher, expressed her devastation, saying, quote, "Jamie has no life, but Richard has his in front of him." The family's pain and frustration were palpable as they grappled with the reality of Richard's freedom. Adding to the controversy, it was revealed that Richard had been taken to a family's home and allowed to play with children prior to his release. That revelation led George Folks MP to call for an investigation into the matter. The situation was further complicated by confidentiality regulations that prevented child psychologists from disclosing to the family why Richard had been placed in the secure unit. That lack of transparency raised serious concerns about public safety and the rights of victims' families. In 2018, Jamie's family members learned that Richard had been living 5 miles away from them, and he had a Facebook page where he boasted about his new life. A family member said in an interview, quote, "Keith is evil to the core and you can't cure evil. I can't bear the thought of him running the streets." This story serves as a reminder of the need to address the root causes of youth violence and to improve support systems for troubled children. While the debate on how to handle such cases remains ongoing, this tragic event underscores the importance of early intervention and comprehensive rehabilitation programs to prevent similar incidents in the future. Other young children in the UK have committed similar crimes in the years before and after this case, and hopefully one day we can find an effective way to treat troubled children so they no longer turn into monsters. If you're a fan of true crime, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss an episode. You can also hit like or leave us a comment. You can check out our other show, Somewhere Sinister, on YouTube or anywhere that you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to support the show, check out our merchandise at thisismonsters.com. The link is in the description. Thanks again, and be safe.